Alrighty, so we should now be live. Hopefully that is also going to stream on the page that it's supposed to stream on. But let's just see what happens. Oh, right. Anyway, can't see it yet on my page. La la la. MBS. Da, 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 da. So I'm just having a little look see because I'm on my Facebook page. Oh, right, it is now. I can see it now. Great. There was just a little bit of a time delay.
Lovely.
All right, so hello and welcome everyone. If you're on my page, you already know that I'm Marilyn Devonish, and today I have the fabulous Gina Batt with me. So hello, Gina.
Hello, beautiful.
And what we are doing today is something, well, we do this every single year. We've been doing this every year for the last 10 years now, where Gina and I have behind the scenes meetings to plan for the one day, and then it turned into a 2-day Mind, Body, Spirit, Energy Fest workshop. This year, of course, because of lockdown, COVID-19, etc., it is going to be online. And so I decided it might be fun for us to have our first planning meeting online as well, and just see where it goes from there, because these meetings are always, fast and furious. We have a load of ideas about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, and I'm just going to turn off my email so that they don't keep binging and bonging. So we have no idea where this is going to go and the direction it is going to take, but we shall see. Now, Gina, before we get started, do you want to say a few words about yourself for people on my page who may not have yet had the pleasure of meeting you?
Yes, I can do a very brief hello. My name is Gina Batt. I have been psychic since the age of 3.5. I have been working in the theatre and performance industries for about 40 something year. We're not going to go into how many exactly. But 20 years ago, I got very sick, and I wasn't able to do the theatre and the fashion shows and all the other things that I used to do. And I went on a training course, and I met this most amazing lady called Marilyn Devonish. And on our first day on the NLP training course, literally the first break, there's music playing. There's about 48 other people in the room, and I'm watching, and nobody else is dancing. And I'm jigging about like I usually do. And then I spot Marilyn, and we've been best friends ever since. We do a lot of different things together. Joy to work with. It's been a magical journey over the last 20 years. And then 10 years ago, she phones me up. She says, Gina, I'm thinking of doing an event. Oh, okay, yeah. Mind, body, spirit. Okay, yeah. Would you do the spirit? Yeah, I'm fine to do that. And then it just went bananas and took off, didn't it? So it's been a wonderful journey, and I tune in as best I can with my team. My team, when I was a child, I'd call them the 800, but I know there's like thousands of them up there. And when they all talk at once, it gets a bit confusing. But there's something magical about when we listen and trust our intuition and our connection to spirit, amazing things happen. So that's a very potted version of me. Hello.
And I'm just looking at the certificates behind you because this is our 20-year anniversary. We met in October 2000.
Yes. Certifications to certify that we're qualified. I'm having one of those days today.
Oh, so happy anniversary.
Yes, yes, absolutely, for the pair of us. A very happy anniversary.
20 years. I don't know where that time has gone. It has just flown by.
This is true.
So, Gina, where do we begin? Actually, what I might do while our brains are now ticking over, let me just kind of give people a little bit of a heads up in terms of just in terms of what they might expect. So I'm just going to pull up a couple of things that are going to appear on the screen, so we get a little bit thinner. So this is a piece that was written by the lovely Amana Shaka. She came on the very first MBS Energy Fest workshop 10 years ago. And that day I phoned Gina up. I said, oh yeah, by the way, I want to run this in 3 weeks' time. I want to do it before the end of the year. And then we worked out that's going to be 3 weeks from the time we were speaking. But somehow managed to pull it off and had 35 or 40 or so people in the room. Amana was one of those people. And the magic started to happen within a couple of days. And one of the things she'd said out loud in the room, almost kind of blurted it out. She said, I think I might want to go and live and work and teach in Saudi or Dubai. Within 6 months, she was out teaching in Saudi. She couldn't attend the Mind, Body, Spirit, Energy Fest workshop the second year because she was out in Saudi. She also then, wanted to, pay off her debts, eventually go and live with her children in Atlanta. Surprise, surprise, no guessing, no prizes for guessing where she is right this minute. She's in Atlanta living with her children, and everything that she had spoken about. So what this one says, if you're on a little device, you won't be able to read it. She said, and I think she wrote this in 2007. 7 years after we did, because if things continue to roll. But she says almost everything I called for when I went to the first MBS workshop has manifested. 0 credit card debt, worked in Saudi, moved to Atlanta to be with my children, get into the vortex. So if you want to get into the vortex this year, because it's online, you can join us from anywhere in the world. So it's www.mbsenergyfest.eventbrite.com. That's on the screen at the moment. So, that's been really the trend. And the very, very first time we ran the workshop, it was amazing. And then people just went on their separate ways. Some of them did the Power of 3 program, which at that point, that was a 3-month coaching program that we did back then. But a lot of other people just went back to their daily lives, but they came back the second year. So I was going around the room saying, why are you here? What would you like to get? Learn, take away, etc. First person I asked said, everything I worked on last year came true. I'm back for more of the same. I was like, oh, fantastic. Went to the second person. Why are you here? Everything I worked on here last year came true. I'm back for more of the same. Went to the third person who was also there the first year. They said exactly, and it was like a Mexican wave. Every single person who'd been there the first year said exactly that. And what you can see on the screen now is a quote from Noreen, who was there a couple of years ago. She said, I couldn't ask for anything more. All of my hopes have been blown out of the water. So she said she's here for more of the same. I've had the best year. The following year, she couldn't attend the Mind, Body, Spirit, Energies Fest workshop because she had talked about going to travel and see these exotic places. Now, Gina, you probably haven't seen this picture. Do you remember the piece that we did with Noreen and the boa and the hat?
Yes.
And one of the anchors that she knew she had achieved it was wearing the hat. This is where she was when we were running MBS abroad, in the place that she's spoken about, and she was wearing a hat. And it wasn't until we were bantering about it, she went, oh, the hat. We did the thing in the room because you have your wonderful dressing up box.
Yep.
So that was Noreen. She couldn't attend because the thing that she had spoken about had manifested and come to fruition. And I'm sure you remember this lovely gentleman here, Gina.
Keith.
The lovely Keith. So many things have happened for Keith, and he spoke about finally finding the love of his life and really experiencing that kind of true deep connection. The following year, he was there the first time we ran it as well. The second year, he came back as my guest, and he brought his new girlfriend with him, and then talked about everything that had unfolded for him that year, including this really random, crazy thing where he wanted a lump sum. We'd done some work, put in some goals in his timeline, and he wanted £10,000. And he was at an event. We'll tell you the story at the MBS workshop, but suffice to say, that's him with the £10,000 check that he won. So, we've had some really, really fantastic, amazing, incredible things happen over the years. And this was Amana out in Saudi in traditional dress. So she sent this to the group and with a message because she couldn't be there in person. So we've had some really fantastic, amazing, wonderful things happen. So Gina,
yes.
While I've been talking, I feel my brain ticking over. So it's time for the notebook.
Yep.
For the pen. I've just had an idea. What I think one of the things I'm going to do, because we've got our firm favorites. I've got to do Huna and Access Consciousness. That's just a given. I know I would not be able to leave the room without doing that.
Okay.
However, I think this is going to be a brilliant year for doing a future life progression piece, because this year has been so crazy that I think taking the group, and actually I've got, do you remember we did it that year and I had people working in pairs so they could have somebody to scribe for them?
Yep.
I've just thought of a brilliant way to do it online. Woohoo!
Oh,
so we're gonna, I need to send them a link to be able to do that. So that goes into the joining instructions. So what do you think? Future life progression session.
Yeah.
And one of the things that it says in my head is seeing beyond COVID.
Yeah.
So I think I'm just going to leave it at that, because that's going to mean different things to different people.
Yeah.
So seeing beyond COVID, and that we're going to use that then as one of the anchors to go out into the future.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, cool. What thoughts have you had so far about what we're going to do and how we're going to do it?
Well, I have a new process,
Ooh,
and I'm titling it at the moment. It's a work in progress, as a title, that is, from the beginning.
from the beginning.
So that's going back in time.
Okay.
I'm not going to say where we're going back in time, because that would ruin the surprise. um, but it's come about from a variety of things, including I'm working on a new deck, which is the Angel Wings deck,
Will that be ready by the workshop?
with a wing and a prayer.
That means yeah. Okay.
Hopefully, yes. I think I'm about 2/3 done.
Where are we now? Actually, it's the 28th today. We're doing it on the 28th of next month.
I know.
4 weeks to the day.
I know.
Okay.
I have a month to complete all the artwork, finish all the writing, get it to the printers, and then come back with the first print run of the deck itself. And my team keep changing some of the format. So having done 80 pieces of artwork, a whole chunk of them have had to go out and say, no, because you need this and you need that. And, okay, lovely, fine. So, but that is also going to be part.
So you're going back to the beginning and I'm going out into the future. So that's a nice complementary piece right there. We like that. All right. Now, Gina, in terms of, I know it's early days because we haven't even spoken about this yet. We're doing it for the first time for real now. Actually, being an actress, this is like a table read, isn't it?
Wait, your read through.
The read through. Because I watched the one with Brad Pitt and Jennifer Aniston a couple of weeks ago, which was just huge amounts of fun. It was really lovely to sit in the virtual room with them.
Cool.
So where do you, in terms of, we have our opening morning session, the bit that we do mid-morning, the afternoon, and then the close. Where do you think at this point, even though this is probably going to change, where do you think you want to do that session going back to the beginning?
I think that should be in the morning.
Yeah.
The reason for that being is very often when we go back to the beginning, we're looking at cause.
Yeah.
And when you examine the cause, learn what you need to learn from the cause, you can change the effect. So that's one start of the process of the clearing out the old. And then where you come in with the future progression of the new in action successful. Does that make sense?
Okay, question for you then, because when you said clearing out the old, I was already thinking before you even said that. I'm like, okay, so this is going to sit probably then with the round of Huna and Access consciousness.
Yep.
So with what you're doing, are we going to do the Huna and Access first, or are we going to do yours first? Is that going to bring up some stuff that we then clear? Does that make sense?
Yes. Well, this will bring up stuff to be cleared.
All right. So that you're first, and then the Huna and Access will come after this process.
Okay.
All right.
It's going to require writing.
Yeah.
And that, I think, well, you know what I like. I know we've done the write and burn, so I want to move away from the write and burn and do something slightly different, which I do have an idea for.
Have you written that idea down?
I have.
Good.
In fact, I've even taken the first step. Are you prepared for a vision of potential future, what's going to appear?
Okay. Oh, okay. Is that balloons?
It's balloons.
Do you know, first of all, I thought, oh, sweets. And I'm like, no, Gina wouldn't be holding up sweets.
No.
Okay, but I'm going to put balloons in brackets. All right, then.
This is a vacuum pack of balloons.
As you do. All right, so Gina's doing something with balloons. I won't even ask what that is.
Well, you know, I like props. Props are important things.
So hang on. Do I need, in the joining instructions, do I need to tell people to go out and get some balloons?
That's a possibility. Those who are probably in the UK, we will, when we send out the instructions, there may be a little package.
Oh, you're going to post stuff?
I'm reckoning to post a few things. Well, when they've been with us in the room, I do like to have things that people can touch and play
Absolutely.
with. I'm not going to give them the full kit from what I know I'm going to need.
Yeah.
But we can send the balloons. There may be other things that will crop up while we're doing this. And I'm going to do the channelings, so people will need to let me know if they want me to channel prior to the event. And I may have to limit the number.
No, do you know, I was going to say to you, because this is a completely different price point, etc., etc., but we might not necessarily be doing the written channelings like you normally do, the big, big. But I was thinking maybe, and you can reject this idea. It's because I haven't got around to telling you yet. I thought I'll tell Gina when we speak about this. But I was thinking possibly, like in my membership group, is the favorite day of the week. I do Tarot Tuesday, where everyone who'd like a reading, I sit on Facebook Live and I do individual readings for people.
Yep.
I was thinking that possibly we do a sort of kind of version of that, depending on how many people we've got. You'll either do an individual reading, or it might be, let's just say, for the first X number of people who have booked on, or it might even be that you're doing some collective readings for the group. And it may be that when you're reading for the group, one or two people pop up as getting an individual message. But I'm sort of, I was thinking that might possibly be a sort of way to do it.
Okay.
Don't know.
I actually like the idea of sort of like, say, the first 10 people.
Okay. And that was a random number. It won't be, you can, you tell me the number that you want, but
Well, I'll channel that.
Yeah.
I think I'll channel that. To do some beforehand that can be emailed out or posted out, depending.
And I'm guessing that will be for maybe our hardcore regulars. The people who booked to attend this year, so they've already booked a year in advance, because they booked in December 2019 to come to this one. So maybe that will be as is. For people who booked last year, they will get your,
for sure. Absolutely, I'm fine.
Brilliant. And then we'll maybe look at, you choose a number, and then I will look at the Eventbrite page, and if you said 5, 4, whatever, I will then go and see, right, who were the first X number of people.
Okay.
And maybe we'll do it that way. How does that sound?
That sounds great.
Okay.
And potentially with the group reading as well, I'd like to have a think about that, because that could be quite interesting on the day, particularly with the way the world is progressing at the moment.
Yeah.
Because although, and for obvious reasons, I get quite a few people asking about what's going to happen with this. What on earth was the benefit to this? Because at the moment, it's difficult to see what the potential benefit is.
Yeah.
And although I maintain a sort of belief, there's nothing that, anything that's uncomfortable, that's a better word to use. Anything that's uncomfortable in our life is about edging us or pushing us to make a change for the better. Yeah. So all sorts of things have come up, from the job that you may or may not still be in, the direction you may or may not have been taking, your pathway. So as we go into 2021, it's very, very much about your pathway, very, very much about where you are, who you're with, what you're doing, what you want from the rest of your life. So doing that as a group will be nice when we know how many, because then I can sit and do a collective channeling. And then any individuals that come up specifically, that can then be shared then and there on the day.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Good.
And actually, it's interesting, because when you did the reading for last year, it was basically, in a nutshell, about clearing out your crap. Otherwise, it's going to be magnified into this year. So, and what I'm hearing you saying now is, in the same way that my first thought was, future life progression, you're actually saying pathway, which for me, in my mind, are basically the same sort of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what we shared last year about this being a phenomenal year is actually true, but it's just not in the way that most people would have expected. So there are, it's like Spirit has set life in motion, and for all of us to change how life was.
Yeah. And
the world has to change, but it's going to bring up those that will be paying the price for whether it's the benefit or a negative that they've been putting out. Paying the price isn't just about a negative. It's also about receiving the positive benefits and the rewards from the good things that have come out of this as well.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll share more about that on the day, obviously. Because you know me, I do like a good slide with information and pictures on. Pictures,
okay.
1,000 words, which is always good. So yeah.
I've had a thought, actually.
Yep.
Let me just see. Because people are not going to be there in the room, I'm thinking one of the ways, because I love my dowsing rod, So I'm thinking we could maybe have a segment if, you know, sometimes people aren't sure or they're questioning something, or we want to get a read for the group. When I'm doing my online sessions, this is a really nice visual way of doing it by proxy for a client. So I'm thinking that maybe we'll do a segment with this as well, where we maybe, if people have, if you know, if you've got particular questions, I mean, I know sometimes people go, oh, I don't know, and I'm like, yeah, our classic, I know you think you don't know, but if you were to know, what would the answer be? Yada yada yada. There's of course that, but there are times where it's just not yet come to the surface. So I'm thinking a dowsing session. I'm not quite sure how and where it would fit yet, but that just came to mind. So I'm going to put that one down as a question mark. But I think we could definitely do something with that.
Perfect. And Q&A sessions are always so important. So
yeah,
would it be worth having some questions come to us before the day, so that we can tailor within the day some of the things they may want to work on, or to clear, or to look at, or to gain answers for? Would that work?
Do you know, I've just heard, because I'm now thinking about the group, and of course some of them I don't know who they are yet, but I just heard myself say to the group, somebody in the group said there's been no benefit to 2020, and in the scenario I just saw, I then said to them, do I have permission to use this on your behalf?
Yeah.
And then I was saying their name, and I was saying, right, speaking on behalf of XYZ, has there been a positive benefit in terms of what's happening in 2020? And I could see the dowsing rod going and doing my yes signal. Yeah. So I think one of the things that I'm going to be doing with this, if there's a chat, that's a big yes. If there's a challenge and a pushback in terms of someone genuinely sort of goes, this has been crap, and this has been crap, and this has happened, and this has happened, then this could be a really good way to, you know, almost peel back the layers and get to the heart of the thing they haven't yet seen or realized. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does.
So I think we're gonna so how am I going to write that? Okay, for now we're going to call it peeling back the layers. But I saw it in my mind. I just saw the whole scenario. It was like, okay, perfect. All right, now I usually have a theme.
It's so noisy listening to her brain work.
Oh,
you can feel the cogs going, even if you can't hear them at that moment in time.
Do you know what I mean? Like the very first iteration of this, as you know, but people watching may not know, I had just had the worst year ever. I mean, like, it had been the worst year since I'd contemplated suicide in September 2000. And I was sitting here, but in a different chair, a different desk. I've got a different desk and chair, but I was sitting right here, and I was like, I cannot go through another year like that. I will not survive. I will not make it. And I was like, what the hell am I going to do? And that's the thing I meditated on, and then woke up at 3 a.m. with work on the mind, the body, the spirit, and the soul. So that's how this event was born. Now, with regards to that, so the theme, if I'm kind of then dialing it back to those 10 years, the theme would have been along the lines of, I've got to have a much better year. And that's exactly what happened for everyone. And they not just had a better year, they had a much better life. So I'm now going to have to, maybe it's not going to come to me right this moment, but I'm now going to have to sit with, okay, what am I saying to myself now as I look at 2020? I mean, it's been a crazy year of synchronicity, because you and I deciding, that we were going to go away this year, but should we go later in the year? Should we go? And we go, let's do January. Oh my goodness, thank goodness for that. Oh, do you recognize this top?
I do, funnily enough. Yes.
Bought it in Gran Canaria this year when Gina and I were on holiday, but I thought I'd wear it in honor of the last time we spent a decent amount of time together.
Tenerife.
Oh, lovely. Fabulous.
A little bit of Tenerife here, and of course my orange.
Absolutely.
So.
Oh, brilliant. So yeah, I'm it's that now. And for me, again, that weird thing where in October 2019, I decided I wanted to specialize and focus on writing about remote and flexible working. And I was like, because I meditated on that, that's what came from, like, that's a bit random. Although I have been working in that field since 2003, but went with it. And my first remote working article was published in November 2019. We didn't start speaking, the world didn't start speaking about remote working from home until, February, and then, starting to pick up momentum in March. So I would say that it's almost like, when animals feel the tsunami coming.
Yeah.
Last year, and again, as you may, I don't know, I probably told you, but I couldn't buy my diary pages. I always buy those in September or October the year before, and I do my ritual on the 31st of December or 1st of January. This year, I couldn't make myself even buy the pages. I bought those diary pages in March this year when we were in lockdown. Had to order them on Amazon because all of the shops were closed. And because my brain was like, there's no point. I don't want to plan for the start of this year. What's the point? So it's almost as though everything in my being was like
gearing up for this.
But now I can't articulate that and put it into words, but I'm going to have to think about it, because that is going to help shape where we're going. Oh, Annika, hi Annika. Annika says we are very color coordinated.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And she says, indeed, can't go through another year like this. Oh, and she's very pleased. I'll put it up on the screen. She says, yeah, reading.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that'll be very, very cool. Yeah, it's gonna. Oh right, okay. I'm definitely gonna sit with that one.
Okay.
Let me write it as a question to self.
Mm-hmm.
What's the theme? Because that then sort of basically, once the theme has emerged, that kind of then drives the direction of where the rest of it goes.
Everything I have in my head from my team at this moment in time is it's all about the path.
The path.
Yeah. And when you think about the path that we're on, you can see it as a concrete pavement. You can see it as a path through a woodland. You can see it flight path, so at an airport. You can see it at a dock where a ship has come in and you're about to board that ship and sail away into the dream that you want to aim for and head for. But it's quite extraordinary, our path that we're on. We don't always say, what is my path? What path am I currently on right now? Because when you come out of your front door, which path are you going to take to go where? So a path can be very motivating to start the journey.
Yeah.
Okay, she's off.
Yeah, sorry, I've just had an idea.
Okay, and she's digging around in the drawer. Because there's obviously something very important in there that is going to be relevant to a path.
Yeah. So, okay, right. Oh, here we go. This is the one I wanted. Oh, your cards are in here too.
Good.
This is Gina's Gems.
Ah, right. Oh, yes, the inspirational gem deck.
Right. So I'm thinking possibly, and again, when I sit down then and we look at, the segments that we've got, but I'm thinking I might be pulling out these cards here.
Okay.
These are the soul plan cards.
Right. Okay.
So, because I know the soul plan often pops up, people who book early, they get a soul plan report, etc. But I'm thinking possibly when you're talking about the path, oh my God, that's it. I remember. Oh my God. Right. Okay. This came to me earlier. When you have a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
And it just goes again. You're like, you'll be back. But it just, I knew I loved it. And then it was just like, but where are you going? Come back.
Yeah.
The idea that I heard earlier, and tell me if you think this is completely bonkers.
Okay.
I was thinking about doing a soul plan reading, because you do it on the birth name.
Yeah.
I was thinking of doing a soul plan reading for Mother Earth, as in the name Mother Earth.
That sounds actually very good, because what we are experiencing encompasses the entire planet. There is not one country that hasn't been affected in one way or another by what we are globally experiencing. And having an idea of the pathway through it, because with what's been coming to me a lot, as you probably know, I've been doing cats and dogs and all sorts of things with artwork at the moment. And the animal kingdom is also quite a good indicator as what's going on globally. Because whatever happens, I see good futures. I see good changes. I see success for so many people that I work with in their futures. So the doom and gloom that is felt at the moment is temporary. This is not going to last forever. It will shift, it will change, it will move. Um, yes, it's extraordinary what can go on in life out in the big wide world.
Okay. All right, that's cool. So I'm going to do a soul plan reading on Mother Earth, and we
Lovely.
will go through that on the workshop. And then what I might do, and I can get people from the group, because you can do group readings with these. So I can get somebody to choose the polarity card, for example, and it will maybe just be like first person to type into the chat a number between 1 and 22, or whatever. If I'm picking from the 7 polarities between 1 and 7.
Yep.
And so I can get the group to choose the cards, so their energy is in that process.
Yeah.
And we can do almost, I think we could just do a very basic past, present, future.
Yep.
With these, and then we will combine that with the soul plan reading for Mother Earth, because I think that will throw up some really interesting things about, because when the soul planet shows you, what are the skills and talents and attributes, but also what are the blockages and what are the challenges in terms of the worldly plane and the spiritual plane and the ultimate soul destiny. So I think that could throw up some really interesting discussion points.
Yep, I'd agree with that. And if I may briefly share from the spirit perspective, there are a few people close to me who have lost loved ones recently. Their spirit energy is so strong that, well, my telephones play up. But I'm now hearing of lighting playing up, which is a normal for them, but then machinery being switched on, and smoke appearing in a sink full of cold water. How do you do that? So that's basically spirit taking on more of a physical form, although it's usually very, very brief. But the spirit energy that's been working is also, from my perspective, a sort of sign that spirit's saying, ask us for our help. We'll do more to try and help you if we can.
Gina?
Yeah.
I don't know if this is what I'm hearing, but I'm just going to ask you, am I hearing you saying that you're going to do some sort of mediumship session or
I don't know, because I don't know. They have to phone me. I can't phone them.
Okay, let me reframe that, because when you started talking, I was thinking, right, if we've got somebody in the audience who has lost someone, and that comes up in conversation, and their loved one
comes through,
presents themselves and comes through, are you saying then that with that person's permission, you would pass on some messages?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I had one person's partner in the car with me when I'm driving from my house to Market Harborough with an urgent message. And I said, I am driving. I cannot stop to text. This is not an appropriate, there's nowhere to pull over. It's single lanes. So when I got to my destination, I said, okay, repeat. I typed it up. I sent it. And it was very, very relevant for what that person was going through at that moment in time.
Okay, I've got another question that's just come to mind, because part of the catalyst, and one of the reasons why it was such a crappy year, as all the stuff that happened with my dad when he died, etc., etc. So I was just writing down. So Gina has spirit messages from audience of loved ones. It's like, so my dad obviously didn't die during COVID. He died 10 years ago. But let's just say a message comes through from my dad or someone that's been past technically speaking, a long time. I guess that's open, an open season as well. Yeah.
I sort of reckon that if anyone wants to show up from the other side for a message from someone that is with us on that day, I would be willing to be open and receptive with integrity and ecology, you guys, please. Because sometimes when they're really connecting with me, I get twitches and pain in my body.
Yeah.
Now, provided they're not going to put me through really, really, really bad pain, so long as it's nice and comfortable and the message has clarity.
Yeah.
A crystal clear message. I am more than happy to be that channel for that information from a past.
Well, that will be a first. We've never done that before.
I'm not being dialed up as much as I have been over the last 6 months.
Okay, that's cool.
It is quite extraordinary. Because although when I'm starting to work with someone, very often I get their permission to work with them, and then I say, I'm not sure who John is, but they've just walked in with you, and it's been a relative. So it's, for some reason, whether they want me to work more in that level, I don't know, but there are more of them that seem to be passing messages through me than I've experienced most of my psychic life.
Yeah. How do you, you know, I've just written just in brackets myself, mediumship messages from the other side, but how would you put that into your words? How would you describe that?
Psychic experiences. And also messages from the other side.
Cool, that's fine then. So we'll keep that.
Something along those lines.
All right, perfect. So what I'll do when I'm putting the joining instructions together, I'll put that in as well. And just ask if, you know, I'm pretty sure that people who book this workshop are open to it, but I'll ask the question if they're open to that. We're not saying, because, you know, you can't make someone come through from the other side, but we'll just say that might be a possibility.
Yeah. More importantly, I don't want to know if they have someone who's passed.
Yeah.
In their lifetime. That's not how I like to work. I like to know nothing, so that when information comes in, it's clean.
Yeah. But I will let people know that that's a possibility on the day, just so nobody is as I said, I don't think the sort of person who book on this workshop isn't the sort of person who'd get freaked out by that. Do you know what I mean? But I'll still say it anyway.
Yeah. If you put in the joining instructions that if they do have someone on the other side that they do want to hear from, get them and give them that spirit permission to come and tune into me.
Okay.
I can't dial them up.
Okay. Give.
Let's hope and pray I'm not completely bombarded for the entire time. That would be a first for me. That would definitely be a first.
All right, so I think that's going to be a whole segment in its own right.
Well, we'll see how many turn up. You know what my team are like. The phones have gone very quiet all of a sudden.
And we have a message here. So Annika says, well, Gina, if anything comes through for me, you have my permission to go ahead.
Lovely. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So yes, as and when and if they do, very, very happily will do that. Absolutely.
So what this tells me now, we need a bit of fluidity in the day. We need to plan for that segment, but also to plan for it to be okay not to do whatever was going to be in that segment if you do have messages come through. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And it would connect with the path, because on the pathway of life, 3 years ago, I lost both of my parents within 10 weeks of each other. And it knocked me off my pathway of life quite dramatically for a variety of reasons. And we still walk a path, whether it's the one we intend to walk or not. But life happens. And when life happens, and particularly if we lose someone very close to us or someone who's very important to us, it's good to know that if they are walking with them, they are walking with them. Sometimes one that popped in very briefly, hi, can you say that I'll be back after I've done this next lifetime? Excuse me. And it was literally, they dovetailed. So they came out of their life to go back into a new life. And I think I'm okay to share this because I'm not sharing any names, but it transpired the person who passed, their daughter was expecting a baby, and the day he passed and the day she gave birth was the same day.
Wow.
Within about 8 hours of each other. So I do believe that sometimes we reincarnate into our own families to come back, so that there is that familiarity. There's, oh, don't they look like so-and-so? And it's like, oh, they've got so-and-so's eyes. Well, yes, there's spirit energy there that's connecting in a different way. So I do find it all very, very fascinating.
Okay, cool.
And although I think I know a fair amount about this subject, I learn more and more every single day.
Do you, if I said Ghost Whisperer, do you know what that show is?
Yes.
Based on the work of James Van Praagh. Yes. That we're at the segment now where Jim has just died and jumped into the deceased body of a man who was on a stretcher, and then came back not remembering that he's Jim, but Melinda knows it's him. That's where we're at this week. So I've just been rewatching and really enjoying that segment. So it's basically what you're describing.
Okay.
But that show is apparently based on his real life experiences, and they then, you know, dramatized it, and he's the producer of the show. But yeah, that's exactly what happened to Jim. He didn't want to leave Melinda, so somebody just died in front of Jim, and he'd recently been killed. So he hops in, Melinda sees him and goes, no. You know, but anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got we've got the past in terms of you taking people back to the secret location, which will be revealed on the day. And the day is Saturday, the 28th of November, for those of you watching this in real time. And if you are not watching this in real time, you can purchase the replay recording, because we will be recording the whole thing. So we've got you taking them back to secret location in the past, unknown location, but you know what that is. We're going to do the Hunan Access Consciousness Energy Clearing for things that sort of brings up. We've also got a segment where we're going to do a soul plan reading for Mother Earth and see what that brings up. And I think one of the things I think is probably going to happen with the Mother Earth reading is it will resonate with people in different ways, because we are all in and of this planet. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So in the same way that if I do a group soul plan reading, there'll be, you know, things that, you know, people hear and go, wow, I hadn't even thought about it in that way, and it's really revealing. I've had people say, Marilyn, thank you for explaining my whole life to me. And these are people in their 50s. It's just based on the 5 sheets of paper. So I'm guessing that when we do the reading from Mother Earth, I actually think there's going to be something in that reading that just resonates throughout the entire group. Of course, I don't know what that is. You haven't done the reading yet. So we'll do that. We're going to do that mediumship, messages from the other side, potentially, if there are things that come through. We're going to do a bit of dowsing if we have anyone who's stuck. With regards, they can't get their own clarity. And I'll probably do what I do when I'm doing breakthrough coaching sessions. When clients go, I don't know, I just quietly sit there, but in my head I'm going, and I do a bit of Huna, then 2 seconds later they go, oh, actually, and then it all just comes like, you know, pouring forth. So we'll probably do that just to help people get unstuck. And there's an exercise that I did. I did a webinar, free webinar on clearing ancestral trauma when all the stuff happened with George Floyd, because I was just did a quick scroll one morning, and 10 minutes, all I saw were posts about people feeling heavy, angry, fearful, rejected, disrespected, hopeless. Seriously, it was just like an onslaught. And I just wrote all the words down and I put them onto a slide, and I just sat and I looked at them and went, whoa, that's deep. And so that was the basis of the clearing for the webinar. I'm guessing I will do a similar piece, and I will probably do this in real time, where I'm going to be asking people how are they feeling in terms of what they want to clear. And then all of that will go into the mix, and you can do some clearing with your team and the pendulum, etc. And I will then do some energy clearing on that as well. So I think that's going to be maybe that even will be the way that we do the Huna and Access session. So asking the group how they are feeling. And then we will do a clearing on all of that.
The other word that I'm given is transmutation.
Right.
And that's changing energy. That's going to be part of what the balloons are for.
Okay, all right. So the balloons are part of transmutation. Okay. Oh my God, Gina, do you remember that time we were at the Grove and you went to the bathroom and I'm sat at the table and I'm just thinking, you know, and I was like, I had this brilliant idea with the black and the white thing for the MBS, and I couldn't wait for you to get back. I'm like, what the bloody hell is she doing in there? Then you came back from the bathroom going, Marilyn, I've just had this idea. And then you start talking, and it was all about the black and white thing. Do you remember that? I was like, you know, we had exactly the same idea at exactly the same time. That was just crazy. So yes.
Harmony and balance.
Cool. All right.
Cool.
So what I'm probably going to need from you, once you've got your head around it, I'm going to need just anything that we need to put into the joining instructions. It will be useful for people to have. You know, there's the obvious pen and paper. I know that previously you've given everyone a sheet of black paper, for example. So anything like that where you think, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, it'll be really useful to have that. Then let's start thinking over the next week or two what that would be.
Okay.
And then all of those will go into the joining instructions. And so people have got a bit of time, you know, and hopefully it'll be things that they've already got around the house anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, possibly, I personally, I don't have any balloons in the house as far as I'm aware, but with most other things, it's probably something I could go, I've got that. But let's just have a think about what possibly they might need to make the most of the day.
Yeah. The balloons will need to be fairly large balloons. So
okay.
I think they're 12 inches.
Alrighty.
Of course, it doesn't say on my thing here what size they are. Oh.
I suppose you could open one and blow it up and just see if it's to your liking.
No, I won't be doing that right now.
We're not right this second.
I will be doing it prior to the day, yes.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty certain when I got these, the reason for it was because they were the 12 inches.
Yeah.
And there is a reason for that.
All right. Okay.
They may or they may not need papier-mâché, that sort of thing. You know, it's like you just plant the seeds and see what comes up. But there's all sorts of there's fun things connected to it.
Okay. I'm listening. Sorry, I am listening, and I'm also just giggling to myself now.
Right.
All right. So, do you want to hear? I've just done a very quick sort of look-see. I'm just feeling too nosy at the thing about Mother Earth.
Okay.
Possible challenges that Mother Earth is facing on a worldly and spiritual level. Strongly oppressed by society.
Yep.
Misuse of spiritual.
Yep.
You know, people, let's say us, believing they know it all. Over emotional. Affected part of the body may be the spleen, which is craving sweetness. Very emotionally demanding, tendency towards self-pity, warrior energy, as in worrying, and low self-esteem. Now, in terms of what is the potential attributes that dynamic brings in, it's about helping others to reach their goals. It's about being spiritual, bringing spiritual energies into physical structures. It's about using the intuition, having a good sense of humor, and being very resilient to society's influences. The first thing that grabbed me about that, it's all interesting, but the society piece, because society at the moment, on one hand, society is waking up. On the other hand, there's this big argument that we're being dumbed down. So for me, I think, you know, that society piece is really interesting.
May I chip in a little thing there that my team have just reminded me about?
Yes, please do.
Embracing change.
Okay.
When you resist change, you get stuck wherever you are. But if you embrace it and say, go on then, what have you got for me? It gives you a preview as well as the starter on that pathway. And again, that's going to be the choice, is that actually, do I want this? No, I think we'll just take a step back, breathe, and redirect the focus to embrace change on your terms rather than someone else's.
Yeah. Absolutely. Interesting. And the worldly and spiritual talents is what this is not called this officially. It's not called this. It's just that I call it that because that's how I have the 10 one in my soul plan. And the 10 one potentially can bring that kind of almost those suicidal tendencies or thoughts about ending it, etc. And the worldly and spiritual talent energy for Mother Earth is the 10-1. So it's the whole thing about, you know, severely critical self-loathing, feeling alienated, insecure, and having really now to again work to establish self in the spiritual. And I know that speaking to some of the people I speak to, they've almost lost their faith, you know, because everything is so awful. They can't even, they almost can't comprehend and get their head around what's going on. So the voice, the vocal expression is a really important energy for this one,
Yeah.
and that healing energy. So yeah, I think we can definitely work with this idea, having just had a quick nosy.
Yep. Internal as well as external dialogue,
Mm,
because the internal and the external will also create conflict,
yeah,
and it's resolving that conflict onto a pathway that is then healing, but it's positive, it's taking you in the right direction and
yeah,
giving you that vision of the future that is that enticing. That's the only direction you want to go in.
yeah.
There's nothing that will distract or allow you to procrastinate. I one of the things that comes up a lot is the procrastination over the last however many years it is, to really look at what the beneficial change is for not just the individual, but for others around you and for the masses. When we're treated as masses, we're not given any power to look at what we want to change in life. But if we recognize that the masses are made up of individuals and every single one of them is relevant, every single one is important, every single one has value and worthiness in this world of ours.
Okay. And weirdly, the workshop that I'm running next weekend, I'm doing a 1-day workshop next Saturday on banish procrastination. So yeah, this time next week I'll just be gearing up to run that one.
Yeah.
Um, so and I'm almost thinking on a kind of, you talk about the pathway, etc. The words that come to my mind are the big why. In terms of your big reason for being, your life purpose, your soul purpose, your soul destiny, why are you here, blah blah blah. If you don't have a clear sense of that,
Yeah.
there is nothing necessarily compelling to pull you on that pathway. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So maybe we maybe will need to, and it could be that this time last year people had a very clear sense of where they were going, what they were doing, what they wanted. That has all now been shaken to the core
Oh, yeah.
potentially.
May
So
I show
maybe,
you
yeah,
let me show
go
you
on.
what my team have drawn.
Okay, hold it up a little bit because there's some writing there that I can't see. You are here. Okay.
And that's the bottom of the Y.
Okay. Yeah.
When we think about sorry, team, just get a clean piece of paper. All right, what am I doing? Just do the Y. When you're on a map in a shopping center, it tells you where you are at.
Yeah.
And you saying what you're saying is, if we know where we're at, that helps us to know where we want to go to.
Because it's all, for me, it's all very well like have a path, do this, do that, but if you have no idea why you're here,
Yeah.
and where you are going or where you want to go,
Yeah.
everything can be laid out before you, and it's still a bit like, oh, I don't know. So
Life
yeah.
purpose.
Okay.
Understanding your life purpose. That's the why. Why am I here? I am here too. So maybe set that as a bit of homework or question throughout on the day. Maybe that would help.
Because that in itself can be an exercise,
Yeah.
just to kind of get the ball rolling, and that's one
Yeah.
that we kind of return to,
Yeah.
towards the end of the day.
Brilliant idea.
And
Absolutely.
once we've, you've gone back, looked at the past, we do some clearing of the
Yeah.
things that are coming up. We're looking at on a more global perspective.
Yeah.
Any messages that want to come through, etc., and all of that, and then we come back to that again. And my intention will be that people have, if not complete clarity, because this can be an unfolding. It's not something you necessarily rush just because you've been asked the question.
Absolutely.
But it's the basis then for getting even more clarity as we start to move on that pathway that you're talking about.
Absolutely.
Okay. Alrighty.
If you reverse a Y upside down, when we're in two minds about something, that is also the question of, why am I in two minds?
Yeah.
Why can I not make a decision of the direction I want to go in? And very often we flip it upside down again, and we get fractured into multiple directions because we're unsure of our purpose. Why? It's interesting because I don't like why as a question usually, but it's also when I was at drama school, we were asked to pick a word, and we had to do literally a 3-minute improvisation on it. You think about all the words that there are in the dictionary. I chose how, but the best one was chosen. I can't remember who chose it, but they said why. Because the expression you can put into why. Just one word has so much impact depending on the context you're holding it in your head, in your mind.
I've just had a thought.
Yeah, go for it.
You know that show, Whose Line Is It Anyway?
Yeah, one of my favorite shows.
Love that show. It's just so wildly creative. You know, you have done the acting piece every, several times over the year, which is where the box of dressing up clothes come into it.
Yep.
I don't know. This might be one that we sit with. If we were choosing a word, if people were choosing a word,
Yep.
and they had to then embody that word, like just a little bit of improv.
Yep.
I don't know. It's just a random thought.
Yeah. And that's exactly what helped, whatever word they choose. But if we suggest as the initial one, purpose.
Yeah.
Because purpose standing on its own, you can relate it to lots of different things. The purpose for a tree is to have roots in the grass and produce air for us and lots of lovely leaves. And if it's fruit tree, then it bears fruit for us. That's its purpose. Purpose related to what was the purpose of me being in this family? That comes up a lot with when I'm working with clients at the moment. Purpose is quite a powerful word as well. So whatever word they choose, I think that would produce a lot of different things.
So there might be an invitation with that one then. If anybody wanted to come on camera, because the way it's set up for people who don't know and haven't used the platform before that I'm going to be using, the audience are there watching myself or Gina, whoever's on camera, teaching a segment at the time, but we can't see the audience because their cameras are switched off, but they're in the chat. So they can either chat openly, or they can chat directly to me and just send a message to me. However, the facility is there for people also to put their cameras on, etc. And which we don't normally, because when I'm recording for resale, I don't necessarily, you don't want people randomly on because they might not realize they're going to be seen all over the world, etc., etc. But what I might do with this one, if knowing that other people will watch it at some later stage and it is for resale, with that in mind, if someone wanted to come on camera and improv their word or tell us how they embody that word, we could do that as well, for sure.
Absolutely.
So, or they could give you the word and you, from your perspective, would do something with it just to give them an idea. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it could work both ways.
Absolutely.
And I suspect it will be the latter, because people are like, oh my God.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Your phones like that idea.
Yeah, my team like that. And I may even throw it out and ask for suggestions of the word that they'd like me to act out on.
Yeah. Absolutely, because it will be, I think it will, give you some ideas. You go, oh my gosh, I hadn't even seen it like that, hadn't thought about that. And often just even the word will evoke some sort of feeling. For example, like if where you or I are doing a coaching session, a client will say something which sounds completely innocent and innocuous, but we immediately know that word has got a charge.
Absolutely.
And it's got some power to it.
Yeah.
So now Annika says we could, Marilyn, you could do the stuck to getting unstuck before the get together to get things moving beforehand, ? Yeah. And 2 words came to mind, Gina. Oh, actually, let me put it on screen so you can see it as well. So he says 2 words came to mind, Gina. The first one is really. Yeah. And the second, not really in my vocabulary, but versatile. And I won't say the other word, but it's there on screen.
The amazing thing that I absolutely adore, one of my favorite words is really. You want to go there? Really? I love that word because it can be upbeat, it can be happy, it can be sad, it can be fun, it can be inspirational, it can be neutral. Yeah, it's a wonderful word. So thank you for that word, Annika. It's brilliant.
I've written that one down.
Good stuff.
Cool. Right, Gina, anything else? Anything else that we want to throw into the mix for now? And of course, we'll have another chat about this, etc., and
Yeah.
see what else comes to mind once now we've got the ball rolling.
Yeah. At the moment, I've got a lot to play with. Everything is in development, and yeah. You've given me food for thought, so I will go and cogitate. There's an interesting word for the afternoon. Thank
Your group, your team like that. I love that.
God bless them.
Gina, for people who don't know what that means, you want to just tell us what that is?
That is spirit letting me know that they're here. I have, in fact, I'll take the phone off the hook because I've got the other one. Right, this is an old phone that no longer works. You can pick it up and you can try and dial on it. Nothing's going to happen. So I was going to unplug that. Oh, I can't find its seat thingy. There it is. You see, that's the sound that it makes when I'm taking it on and off its cradle. Now, the ones that do work is this one. That was the new phone. But when I was plugging the new phones in because the old phone stopped working, I got distracted by a phone call. So I forgot to unplug the old phones. So now when Spirit want to let me know they're around, the phones talk to each other. And I've got two phones that don't work in this room and one that does. So when Spirit acts up, the ones that don't work talk to each other. But when someone's phoning me, those two, there's nothing that comes through them. It's extraordinary.
And they are very chatty. Like they'll be going, there are times I go, so does that sound like a good idea? And the phone's
It is quite extraordinary.
Perfect. All right. Well, I've got plenty to kind of think about as well. And as in usual fashion, this will probably take change shape a few times, and other ideas will come in, etc., etc. But that I'm going to use that as just the kind of the working template for now.
Yeah.
And then sit and think about, what if anything do we require people to do beforehand? Normally, there's nothing people need to do beforehand. You just rock up on the day. But this time, of course, in terms of just having things to hand, there may be some of that. And maybe just saying to people, just start thinking about how you're feeling. So on the day, you're ready to share and put that information into the mix.
Yep, absolutely.
Fab.
Marvellous.
Well, lovely to see you, albeit virtually.
Yes, lovely to see you too. And we must put something in the diary when we're allowed to and go and have lunch at the Grove to celebrate 20 years of knowing each other.
Absolutely. That sounds like a plan. I love that place. I recommended it to someone recently. They were saying they wanted to go somewhere special in Watford. I'm like, look, never mind the fact that the Grove keeps saying they're in London. They're in freaking Watford. Their postcode is WD. I think it's WD24. But I recommended they go there. They hadn't heard of it. I said, go to, I think it's the Glass House is the one where you pay your money, eat as much as you like. So they might go there for their sort of anniversary celebration in a few weeks' time, which I think is lovely.
Absolutely, a magical place.
And Annika, thank you so much for your participation, your wonderful comments and questions. And Annika says, for the record, I wrote the previous message before you offered to reenact it. So she's in the vibe as well of kind of, what's happening and kind of bringing it all on stream. So that is absolutely brilliant.
Marvelous.
Fabulous. And that was the idea, just so I have that one there about doing the stuck to unstuck before we get things moving. So we'll have a think about that. Brilliant. Gina, thank you so much.
Thanking you too.
Have a wonderful rest of your afternoon.
Absolutely. You too.
Will do.
Bless.
Bye.
Bye.
And thank you all for watching. And by the way, if you would like to book and join us, go to www.mbs, as in Mind, Body, Spirit, mbsenergyfest.eventbrite.com. If you've got any questions, if you've got any queries about the event, easiest way to get hold of me is my email. I'll spell it because it's probably quite small on the screen. Marilyn, Marilyn at transformationstm.com, TRANCE, F for Freddie, so FORMATIONS. TM as in trademark.com, main website www.transformationstm.com. And the easiest way to find out what's going on, and I will add the MBS to this, go to the main website. There's a red What's New button at the top. If you click that, a panel comes out from the right hand side. You can see just a screen replica of that, and that will be where you can find the latest events, what's happening, etc. But that's the easiest way to kind of get hold of us. And if you want to come and have your own deep, transformational, enlightening time, please come and join us. People are always saying, you know, this is one that, you know, you've got to kind of be there to experience it yourself. And I know there's one of the forms, Gina, where someone has said, you're not charging enough, this should be £1,500. That was somewhere. Have I got that one? Oh, somebody else says, please attend the MBS to live it for yourself. So we've had some really fantastic, amazing, wonderful feedback over the years. So yeah, we would love to have you come and join us. And this is one of those rare occasions where you can actually take part from around the world. Ordinarily, you have to be in the United Kingdom and come to sunny Watford. But you can, and this was, Gina, you know, last year, as you know, I was saying this might be, you know, I was thinking, okay, maybe there's so much work that goes into this one. Yeah. Maybe this 10th year will be the final year that we run it. We said that in the room last year. And now, of course, we're having to run it in a slightly different way. So it's almost like, well, it'd be rude not to run one final one in person when all of this calms down. But this will be an opportunity for people to join us from all over the world. And if you can't make it on the date that we're running it, there will be a replay recording. And as many of you who have already worked with me will know, if you've already worked with Gina, you'll know that as well. But the energy of this stuff travels. You don't have to be here in the room. This is going to be too small for you to read, but this is one of my clients out in Australia who was just listening to an MP3 recording and had the most profound experience. And what I didn't know at the time, it took me a couple of years to actually read it again, and it suddenly clicked that everything she was describing is exactly the order and sequence in which I did the Huna energy clearing. She would have had no idea what I was doing because it was an audio call, and all she would have heard is that doesn't mean anything to anyone, even someone who's a Huna master, and she nailed it line by line. So the energy does travel. Everything that we're doing, you will have a wonderful experience of it. And one of the things that always happens with the energy, both from myself and from Gina, this is an example. There were 550 people in that room. I did like 2 minutes of Huna. They all had a profound and very different experience. And, you know, proceeded to, I heard, you know, I was there for 4 days. So every single day for 4 days, I couldn't walk 2 steps without somebody saying the impact that it had on them. And so, you know, it's amazing stuff. And the same will be true if you're doing it online. So, Gina, is there anything actually you wanted to say about the way the energy works online before we really finally go?
Well, everything in our universe is energy. Absolutely everything. And when you hold a belief system that allows you to connect to that energy easily and effortlessly, it's more impactful. So working online, whether you're in the room or not, there's an intention behind that energy that has a positive resonance to it that can only affect in a positive way if you allow it. So
wonderful. Well, I'm really letting you go now, Gina. Thank you everyone for joining us. I will see you at the MBS Energy Fest workshop from wherever you are in the world. Catch you all later. Bye.